Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things. Drop out at any point again or whatever's going on with that. Hi everyone, I'm Sid Part 2. Joining me today is Longevtic 1992 and Steve Baxi here on the Geeky Gentleman Halloween Special. The video posted on Halloween Day, so it's only relevant for a day.
Well, I mean, if your viewership is in different time zones, then it's not relevant anymore.
I know, shit.
Yeah.
Didn't think this through, did I?
You should have posted this yesterday.
Yeah, probably, but oh well. I thought it'd be fun to post a video on Halloween Day. That was the plan from the start, so it wasn't bad planning. It was just it was a fun idea.
No, it's cool. I did review The Omen once on a Halloween. That was fun.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Awesome.
Did you delete that video, or did you keep it up?
I deleted that video. I had like a Rorschach mask effect and everything going. It was a fun Halloween.
The fuck, man? Why does Steve delete YouTube videos?
Because I'm not proud of my old stuff.
I can relate. I'm just completely ashamed of all the shit that I've ever said.
I mean, I had a
like,
good 400
that,
videos that I had in my channel before, then I just deleted all of them.
I'm gonna do that too. Like, I'm just like...
No. See, here's the thing. You shouldn't delete old videos because then someone can find you and then they can go back through all your old stuff and just get a real sense of how you've developed.
Yeah. That's the ideal. But then some people look at old videos with opinions you no longer agree to and act like this is still your opinion.
So why is the Man of Steel video still up?
No, that one's gone.
Oh shit, damn it. I must have been the inspiration for that.
It was you and Alex. Every time I talk to Alex, I like that movie less and less, so...
Yeah.
No, I just remember bringing up, I'm like, damn, Steve, I watched your Man of Steel review, and you seem like your opinions have changed drastically.
Drastically is not a strong enough word.
That's disappointing. Do you still have, like, the original files on your computer anywhere?
Yes.
You should create a separate account titled, like, Past Baxi.
Past Baxi.
And then just
Baxi,
upload
Baxi.
all of those, and just put in the description of all of them. This is something I probably don't agree with anymore, but I wanted to upload it for posterity.
Yeah, I could do that. That'd be fun. I have a whole bunch of old Grant Morrison Batman reviews and stuff on that file. I've reviewed pretty much every Batman trade up to, like, 2009.
Ah, that sounds awesome. I want to watch it. Anyway, so we're not talking about Steve Baxi's past life before he was a member of Geeky Gentleman.
Yep.
That's not the subject up for discussion today, though. I don't know, that might be a fun discussion, our past lives, our past YouTube lives someday.
What got us into that and stuff. That'd be fun.
Yeah, anyway, today we are discussing Satan.
Indeed.
And that's how we're going to say it every single time.
I don't know if I can keep that up.
We're going to see how long that can last. Anyway, today on Geeky Gentlemen, our topic is Satan, and how Satan is portrayed in pop culture, from Devil Went Down to Georgia to Sympathy for the Devil, till Devil's Advocate, till, just all the different ways that you see Satan, damn it, we've already lost it, see Satan portrayed in popular culture. That was the topic of discussion. So, how should we start, Milan? Since you have a close personal relationship with Satan.
See, everyone, I'm so tired of people talking shit about my friends. Everyone's like, oh, Satan's this, Satan's that. I mean, Satan didn't do shit. I mean, who's really in control here? I mean, he's just a foreign agent. I mean, he's just he's not even doing shit. People think he's down in hell. He's really not. I mean, he's just walking around doing stuff, just, hanging out with Loki and Thor. It's God that keeps making him, like, come back and do some evil for me. I'm like, no. The devil is a nice guy, a genuinely kind-hearted guy. He feeds the homeless. To the homeless. Okay. Okay, that's pretty evil, but, like, evil... But besides the whole...
You were going so strong up until that point, then we started laughing, and then we, like, broke...
To the homeless.
See, I'm not sure if that is a good deed or not, actually, because, I mean...
Population control.
They don't suffer. Well, they do a lot, but...
this is going to be a fun video if nothing else. I don't know if anything's intelligent is going to get said, but it's going to be worth some laughs.
Definitely.
Oh, man. All right, so Milan, in all seriousness, where do you think is a good place to start on this topic?
Well, the caricature of Satan has really he's the ultimate example of ancient fan fiction. Because if you read the Torah, there really isn't any real mention of him. There is a few mentions here and there, but he's just the deceiver. He isn't really all that important in the overall story. But when we come to the New Testament, even then he's not really that big. He's just a minor character. But it's in the modern day reinterpretation of these ancient stories do we get the more iconic Satan that we know in popular culture, the whole red skin, horns and tail deal maker type of a thing. Really, it's...
Well, I wouldn't know. I guess it depends on what you mean by modern.
If well, not like
past the New Testament.
Well, yeah. Like I mean, like in the 21st century. I mean, 21st, early 19th century, late 19th century.
Well, actually, the funny thing is, the reason that Satan is depicted as like kind of a half man, half goat a lot of the time is because the Greeks had statues all over the fucking place of satyrs. And so to explain what that was, early Christianity just adopted it. Oh, that's a frozen demon, or that's a statue of a demon that these people worshipped. So yeah, that's why you have the popular image of Satan.
Yeah,
at least part of the reason.
Yeah, also they also wanted to use that to essentially take the iconography of the old religion, the paganism and all that, and essentially like to recruit new believers. Just say like, oh, that God, that whole spirit of nature thing, that's Satan. That's the bad guy. That's the great adversary. And really, but that's not really what we think of Satan now anymore. Well, we kind of do. Not visually, I mean. Visually, we think man in red suit, man with horns, red-skinned guy, evil, evil, evil. And, like, he's kind of become God's Lex Luthor in a way. And
if Superman is face Jesus, I guess Lex Luthor is the devil.
I suppose so. Well, more his dark side. And that's the weirdest thing, because both in the New and Old Testaments, it's made quite clear that the devil doesn't have any real power. He's just another puppet of God. But like we all know, people like to tell stories and mythologize their experiences. And so, well, you need a bad guy for the story, and who else than the devil himself? And through the history, people just essentially gave the devil more and more power, not literally, of course, but story-wise, figuratively. And like in the public canon, in a collective consciousness of human thought, or at least in American thought, he's kind of become, dark side, bum bum bum, like what dark side is to comic book geeks. We know who the devil is. I mean, for fuck's sake. And it's just like, it's interesting to see the devil depicted in so many different ways. You can, of course, get the over-the-top metal devil, like the I am devil rock or something. I forget that song. And yeah, but also,
are you singing Tenacious D?
I'm quoting Tenacious. I'm not really quoting. I'm failing to quote Tenacious D. Yes.
Okay, no, I'm trying to make sure. Like, is that the song you're going for?
I am something, something, something. I forget so much.
It's cool. So you
never drink, kids. Never drink paint. You'll forget a lot of things.
Oh my fucking... All right, so Steve, how about you? What are your thoughts on the devil as a concept concept on the whole? What are your general thoughts?
It's interesting because it depends on where you go with it. Because traditionally it is the ultimate good, ultimate evil, and such like that.
Yeah.
You can't get more simple than that. That's part of why Star Wars works. That's part of why a lot of great classic tales in that vein, part of why pulp fiction and stuff work, is because you've got two very plain sides, and then over time we become more cynical and we start building these gray areas into our fiction because they reflect our reality. As far as Satan's concerned, when you dig into his history and you realize that Satan before was just a title and he was more of like an angel of justice and dishing certain things out, you go back to like Hades, and how Hades isn't really a bad guy.
No. Funny thing about Hades is that he's the nicest of the three brothers. Poseidon is...
Yes.
Yeah,
Poseidon's a rapist and like a murderer.
He's like a serial rapist.
Oh, dude, he rapes everyone. He rapes boys, he rapes girls. He turned into a fucking eagle, swept some poor young Greek boy off the shore and raped him up in the fucking... up in the mountains and just left him there after he was done. Like, dude...
No, he didn't leave him there. He made him serve him wine for the rest of his life.
God damn.
But yeah, I mean...
Zeus has a sex slave.
When you look into the history of that archetype, it is more complicated in the fact that he is just evil. So, when putting that into a more modern context, the way I like to spin Satan, or the way I like to spin evil when I'm thinking of fiction, or when I'm thinking of bad characters, not necessarily I'm thinking of like personifications like Darkseid, but just in general, if you've ever read the Casino Royale novel, there's a really great exchange that James Bond has, and he mentions that, in a way, evil is nothing more than the fact that there's always going to be greater good. So just the fact that no matter how good you are, there's always something better to it, and the fact that you're not living up to that is the greatest evil. And I think that's interesting, simply because it gives the devil more dimension in the fact that he's not simply the personification of evil, that there is a very important relationship between the two, but the sides have always been stacked on good because we feel a preference towards that, and we have, in some cases, fiction, in some cases not fiction, supporting that. We mentioned that there's a Bible about everything that's good and great, but there's no satanic Bible.
Well, there is.
Well, I mean, not in the literal sense. Not in the literal sense of this is what people wrote over time to create the Bible, and this is what people wrote over time to say this is what Satan was. That directly link into each other.
Well, there are some Luciferian doctrines.
I know, but what I'm saying is, like, there's no quintessential text that people all over the world believe that God wrote the Bible and the devil wrote his own book.
Yeah,
it's an exact opposite and works in conjunction with the Christian Bible. There's no text like that. There's no text that's an exact contrast to the Quran that works with the Quran, you know?
Exactly. And that's a weird thing, because if you read the Torah and whatever, God, over time, people just saw God as the ultimate good. And really, if you read the Torah and the Bible, God isn't, he's not it's only when Jesus comes around when he's even actually mentioned being the great, all kind and loving. In the Old Testament and the Torah, he's really more a gray character. He's not really good or evil. He's just like a force of nature. And
well, no, I'd say God's more of like your classical ancient religion God, like Zeus or Poseidon. Or
definitely, yeah, more
that's just very vengeful and stuff, and very reactive to people. Whereas Christianity's God is a couple thousand years later, give or take. Let's say 100.
He's liberal hippie God, more or less.
No, I wouldn't say liberal hippie God, but he's a much more nuanced, much more well-reasoned theological idea of God. Like, you can make theological arguments for the God in Christianity that don't really work when you start applying them to the Old Testament. Like Milan, promise me we will not stay on this for too long. When you read YouTube atheist comments...
Yeah, those are idiots.
Yeah, but when you read them and they're trying to, make points about how awful the God of Christianity is, most of what they make points from is from the Old Testament. There's very little that's cited from the New Testament about how cruel or how evil or awful or what have you the God of Christianity and Judaism is.
Yeah.
Most of it's from the Old Testament. And that's because that's an old-style book where the New Testament was crafted with a very modern theology in mind.
Yeah, modern, quote-unquote. And that's the thing that I really don't understand about YouTube atheists. I'm still technically an atheist, and I am on YouTube, but I'm not a YouTube atheist. I'm more of a motion comic maker nowadays. But, like, they tend to, like... well, I used to do this as well. Like, I used to be an obnoxious YouTube atheist. I'm sorry. But, as Ian can attest to. But this is what I understand.
Aren't anymore?
No, I'd like to think that maybe I've kind of matured a little bit, ever so slightly past that phase. But they kind of...
Quick, somebody make a dick joke.
Yes, of course. Penis, cock in my ass, in my throat, yada, yada, yada. But they kind of go about it like, oh, they treat this thing like it's real. I'm like, dude... Yeah, I know what you're trying to do, but, like, if you try, like, I don't know, it's so hard to explain.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
It's really far away from where we're getting at, though.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get back to Satan.
To tie what we were talking about, so you have, like, that very old world idea of a god, but then you have this very modern concept of, like, an anti-god, if you will.
Yeah.
That seems to fit better with the old one, but like we were talking about, there's no evil gods. There aren't a lot of evil gods that have the same kind of power as, like, you know, your all-powerful god.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Classical gods, ancient gods are more amoral. They're more just like they're more like, you know, the storm. They can't be they can be reasoned with, but they're random and, like, whatever hand you're dealt, the best thing you can. Essentially, all of Greek mythology is a testament how you shouldn't have anything to do with the gods whatsoever, because they'll just fuck everything up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like my mythology professor in this course I took over the summer made probably the best point, and he goes, "You have all offended Poseidon sometime in the last 15 minutes." And there's nothing you can do about it. He's going to kill you, probably rape you first, and he's never going to tell you why.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to understand the old world thinking of Poseidon. There was no making that dude happy.
And you know what's weird that I've been noticing? It's just like how, like, if you really read the old myths and you see, like, the depictions of them now, or at least not too long ago, as being these squeaky clean representations, save for kids' versions. And I'm like, it's weird because you start hearing fairy tales, old school fairy tales reinterpreted by Disney, or at least hearing them, like, done by an honest source, and you get this weird kind of underhanded, like, not yet very macabre sensibility. I'm like, we're talking about, you know, cannibalizing people, essentially. Mm-hmm. And, like, and all, rape and sex and all this insane shit, and we just pussify it and give it to our children as bedtime stories. Actually, not really. Like, when I was a kid, my mom used to read me Scheherazada's 101 Nights in Russian. And those stories were, you know, they were magnificent and wondrous, but they were old school, Muslim fairy tales. And they were pretty fucking hardcore. Russian fairy tales are pretty hardcore. I loved them as a kid, but now that I look back at them as...
Yeah, doesn't, in the Russian version of Cinderella where she starts chopping off part of her daughter's feet?
No, that's
like
the
stepmother?
Yeah, that's the Germanic. Cinderella is... Yeah, that's the German version. But, yes, with characters like Baba Yaga, the cannibalistic witch whose fucking house is a giant chicken, or there's a giant cottage supported on chicken legs, and her fence is made from the bones of children that she's devoured. I mean, for fuck's...
Well, like, Milan, if you're gonna be all discriminatory, I'm not comfortable having you on here. I'll have you know my grandmother lives in a house with a fence made of the bones of children she's eaten. Okay?
I know.
So I will not stand for this, sir.
Well, come now. Like, I'm sure your mother is a sweet and kind, your grandmother is a sweet and kind, loving woman, and I'm sure she didn't make those poor, creatures suffer too much. The children.
Oh, no, she mercilessly whipped children. She honestly sometimes almost attacked me until she realized that she was related by blood, and that by devouring me she would get herself a gypsy curse to last generations, so she didn't.
She seems like she'd be fun to visit in a retirement home.
Yeah. Anyway.
You're Ian, are you Romani?
No. Oh. I like the little asterisk there, Steve, with the, in a retirement home. Not in her house, but in a retirement home.
Yes, in a retirement home, that'd be ridiculously fun.
Okay, anyway, for me, I haven't really given my general thoughts on the devil here. So for me, I think I find the most interesting thing about the devil came down to, is not the class, inspiration for him. I think that mainly stems from Dante and, like I said, just people trying to rationalize Greek statues. But I find the modern, proper modern, postmodern, if you will, interpretation of the devil is so interesting. Like Milan was talking about, the guy with the slick back hair and the suit. There's something so fascinating about our modern sensibilities of capitalism and what all that.
Yeah, the shyster devil.
What goes in? Yeah, what all goes into that, because he's such a swindler in the modern interpretation. Have either of you seen the original Bedazzled?
No.
The British, not the Brendan Fraser version, which has its moments, but it's nowhere near as good. All right, so here's my favorite scene. For those that don't know the plot of the Bedazzled, guy sells his soul to the devil in exchange for 7 wishes. So he's very much like, the genie in that.
Is that the Peter Cook movie?
I don't know the actors. 70s or 60s or something like that.
Okay, then it's the Peter Cook version, okay. Because I've heard of it, just never saw it.
Is it the one with Ringo in it?
I don't know. So the devil is on a telephone pole, and he split some of the wires and stuff so he can have a phone and can call people with it up there. And he calls someone. He's like, "Hello, is this Harold Ramis?" "Yes, the one that lives on 2796 Drewberry Lane." "Yes, and you had to get out of the shower to come and answer this call." "Yes, excellent. Sorry, wrong number." And just hangs it up. And that is so funny to me.
Essentially, the devil is a troll. He's like a cosmic level troll.
I know. I'm curious if that's going to become more the interpretation of the devil as internet trolldom and internet bullying continues to escalate. I just find that's my version of the devil that I find really interesting. Is just this guy with modern sensibilities that doesn't want to make the world worse or kill everybody. He just wants to trick people because he's a bastard.
It's really hard to get away from that version of it, too. If you go to Angel, the devil and hell is essentially a giant law firm.
Yeah, I really like the way Minton sets him up. Is just he's an angel that's fallen, and now he wants to prove to God that all the people that he's created are just as bad as he is. So he's trying to, trick people into going to hell because he's had an argument with God. And it's just so fascinating because he's the only character to do that in Christian mythology.
There's a really interesting moment I think speaks to what the new version of the devil is.
Hold on. So basically what you're saying is the devil is essentially a pissed off goth chick that has daddy issues.
Yes.
Might as well.
Oh my god. That's the version in my comic.
Cool. Anyway, Steve, you were saying?
There's a version of it that I really enjoy. There's a scene in Angel season 2. I believe it's episode 15 or 14. I don't remember exactly. I think it's 15. Because 16 is Epiphany. Yeah, so it's 15 of season 2, and Angel goes to the evil law firm, which is essentially the stand-in for Hell on Earth, and asks to be taken down to Hell itself to fight the devil, which in that universe is Wolfram and Hart. And as he's taking down this elevator flight, a guy in a suit's having a conversation with him, asking him why he's suddenly become so aggressive about certain things. And it's like not a 15-minute, but at least a 5-10 minute elevator ride, and then when the doors opened, he's just on Earth. And the guy in the suit tells him what could possibly be more evil than this, and he's just pointing to the state of poor people while he's standing there in the elevator with his fancy suit and such, and it just completely breaks Angel's spirit. And it's fascinating because in a lot of ways, when you're in this modern culture of everything being connected, the world being smaller, money kind of being not only the force of analysis, but also of will, and money can buy happiness in a lot of ways now. What's scarier than that?
That happiness can be bought and categorized and essentially everything, like, I don't believe that.
There is now a case to be made for money can buy happiness, and what's more frightening than that in any modern sensibility?
Well, money, we got to remember, is just a tool. It's essentially we're a bunch of monkeys dealing with, like, with little shells. Like, look at this pretty piece of metal. Money is just an illusion. It's just an idea that we all agreed on that means something. This is paper that we've all lied to ourselves.
Yeah, you're
to.
playing
Like,
a game.
This means something. It's a game.
Game.
It's a fucking game. Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, I love how the adversaries of man and like different type of like comic book villains, how it's stuff like that, super villains, how they and the devil himself essentially kind of take up the guise, like sometimes humorously, sometimes seriously, take up the guises of, take up the attributes of what the society fears in itself. You know, how essentially, that's what kind of Jack Kirby did with the New Gods. You know, he essentially took what he saw around him, friends, family, just what he thought about the basic culture and himself, That's why every Jack Kirby hero is a big square, square-jawed, not exactly handsome, but like a guy that knows how to throw a goddamn punch. And what was his, devil? What was his, ultimate enemy? Well, Hitler. Space Hitler. Fascism.
Why are there so many space Hitlers? Sinestro is Space Hitler. Darkseid is Space Hitler.
Because
more space Hitlers.
Dude, because fascism is left such just a gigantic mark on human history, at least
we have just one space Stalin? That's all I'm asking.
Well, that's fascinating.
Isn't Thanos Space Stalin?
Well, I suppose so.
No.
Because Thanos is more about the whole totalitarian thing anyway.
No, he's not. Fucking Thanos is...
He totally is. He's literally Goblin, man. He bent the entire world to his will. He's got
but he's a goal essentially is to wipe out all life on Earth so he can impress his girlfriend. Holy shit! Thanos is a whiny emo boyfriend that won't leave Death alone. He's like, he's always fucking texting her like, "Hey, Death, I'll fucking totally kill everyone in the universe for you, brah. I love you." And she's like, fucking Deadpool, and she's like, "Oh, for fuck's sake, it's Thanos again." Like, Deadpool, just fucking talk. He keeps fucking texting me and sending me dick pics. It's all pink and shriveled and not impressive. And Deadpool says something funny and eats a chimichanga.
Yeah. I agree though. All right. So here's where we're gonna try to get this back. So, is there a space devil instead of just a space Hitler? Like, is there a stand-in for a space devil?
There's so many space devils out there that it's hard to count them all.
It's hard to say because every interpretation of evil space characters are different.
Let me refine my question. Is there just a space devil that doesn't also serve as like a space Hitler or a space dictator?
Well,
I would think so.
Is there? Sorry, quick interruption. Milan, are these two different files?
I believe not. Don't worry about it.
Okay, I'll just let the first one keep going.
Okay.
All right. No, I'm curious because Milan made that point about Darkseid is Hitler, and I agree. He is very much like Hitler. Or actually, I think we got it backwards. I think Thanos is like Hitler, and Darkseid's more like Stalin because he enslaves people and makes them work.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Maybe okay. But the thing is, remember that Darkseid's also created to be the idea of evil personified. So whatever is evil to its core is Darkseid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Darkseid is who guys like Hitler and Stalin pray to. He's not. We fall into the realms of modern day mythology. What is mythology but people trying to craft stories about life to better understand life itself? And I sound incredibly pretentious, but that's true. What is
No, you're right.
Yeah, people the only way people can grasp history. Things that are happening in their lives is they try to mythologize it in stories. Stories is how we tell
each other about our lives.
Exactly.
That makes perfect sense.
Exactly.
And when something of amazing scale happens to you, there's no other way than to describe it in mythological terms. That's why we have terms like amazing, like epic, like, not like.
yeah, definitely.
Man, it's just all you know.
Yeah, bro. Totes. It's totes cosmic, bro.
Yeah, because it's just like that way,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, in defense of the term, I don't know of any other term that makes me relate to someone more.
Yeah, you're right. I use it all the time.
Definitely.
It's a very good term for phenomenology, but it only works in spoken word. I wouldn't recommend putting it in your term papers, ladies and gentlemen.
Definitely.
Unless you're writing about the phrase.
Definitely, yeah.
To be fair, I've actually been having such a hard time, because a couple years ago I read Heidegger, and I've just had such a hard time getting back to proper ways of writing papers, because I just understand my topics so much better when I express them in stream of consciousness at this point.
Of course. Yeah,
that's such a bitch to try to write in a formal sense again.
Yeah.
I don't know how to write a paper without the word I in it anymore, and that's a problem.
Yeah.
So yeah. The moral of the story is don't read Heidegger because he is the devil. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this episode of Geeky Gentlemen.
Don't worry, the five guys that listen to us don't care. We can make all the college jokes we want. I don't go to college. I'm a ghetto rat.
Yeah, anyway, I would recommend reading Heidegger if I could never recommend reading Heidegger to anyone. It's this weird double-edged thing. Anyway. So back to what Milan was saying about relating through storytelling. So, do we create the devil so that we don't need to have, explanations? Do we create the devil just because, that he did it because, he's the devil, he's evil?
Yeah.
Or do we create the devil for, a more interesting, more complex reason to say something about himself?
Why can't we have our cake and eat it too? The devil serves many purposes. He can always be the devil made me do it. That simple, scapegoat for all your bullshit. But he can also be, in a more literary sense, essentially the devil. He can serve any role in a story. It all depends on how you want to look at him. Some people take that a little bit too seriously, and when you portray the devil in any way, shape, or form in a positive light, people freak the fuck out. Well,
here's the thing about that.
Yeah.
The seminal work on Satan, if you will, is John Milton's Paradise Lost. Okay?
Agreed.
Damn it, Lon, you canceled the thing.
I know.
Is John Milton's Paradise Lost. But here's the thing. Satan's the protagonist. We are meant to feel sympathy for Satan in that book.
Yeah.
Poem. So, since the character's mainstream pop culture inception, you're supposed to feel bad for him.
What's
he's the hot soft girl.
Is that we haven't gotten too far away from that either, because I would believe late 80s, early 90s, we had that Mike Carey book called Lucifer that's been out of Sandman, where the devil just essentially gave up on hell and started acting like a normal guy. And that was an amazing book. And in a lot of that, you did feel sympathy for the devil, not because he was a great guy, but a lot of his personality is attributed to other people giving him characteristics.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to break the song. I was waiting for someone to drop that title.
Yeah. That's why I like Neil Gaiman's writing, because he has this, I believe there's a term for it, an educated term, how essentially in fiction gods and mythological characters are shaped by how people perceive them. That idea is explored a lot in American Gods, and how essentially gods are what people tell them to be, essentially. They have no agent. Well, they have some agency on their own, but they're essentially cosmic parasites that interweave themselves into stories that people tell to each other, and grow fat and immortal. And when people stop believing in them, well, they kind of shrink and become almost quasi-human with magical powers. But yeah, but
that's a really interesting way to look at it.
Yeah, it's how American Gods is fucking brilliant. Like anyone,
sometime.
No, like everyone. If you don't want to read the book, get the audiobook narrated by George Guidall. That motherfucker can make Morgan Freeman suck a dick, because that like with his voice alone, he can convince him. Like they can have a voice off. It'll be an epic voice off. Like it's like, hello, I'm George Guidall, or just think of me like as a wise old white man. And, it's just the wise old white man fighting verbally against the wise old black man. And then it just ends.
The white man wins in Milan's mind.
No. In Milan's mind... No. In Milan's mind, it ends with some silver fox fucking. They see the error of their ways and they just start making out. Yeah, just Morgan Freeman...
My God. Please don't use the term silver fox on the show ever again.
What does that mean anyway?
It means hot old guy.
Oh, that's disgusting.
Well, you used it properly, so I'm surprised you didn't know what it meant.
I use a lot of words I don't know the meaning of.
I believe you.
I'm kidding. I'm actually smart. I'm insane. I'm crazier than cat shit, but I'm not stupid.
I thought about sending out a tweet today, but I couldn't think of a way to get it short enough, so I guess I'll just say it right now. So I often wonder why Milan hasn't been arrested for the many murders and other crimes that he is purported to commit, and I came to the conclusion that the world has just taken on the attitude of the village from Van Helsing, where they just don't bother killing vampires because they only kill what they need to survive, and they don't want to, attack one and piss him off, and then they'll start killing, for revenge. I think that's the attitude the world has taken toward Milan.
Very much so. I have it in writing. Yeah, I actually have that in writing. You're quite right. There is essentially what they do. They get a virgin and they tie her to a beam in a field somewhere and just run away, and watch from a distance as I just kind of lumber from my granny flat in my underwear, with a with a spork, and I just untie her and we talk and go to the movies, and then I devour her whole. And eat her soul.
That was so pleasant until that part happened.
Yeah, that's what she said. That's what they said all the time.
Oh, this I just imagine the crowd peering behind the seats, watching you on this pleasant little date, and then man, this is going actually really well. Maybe he's simmered down. Never mind.
Pretty much, yeah. That's you even how do you know what's do you have cameras in my house, dude? Because I'm getting concerned.
Yes, I have cameras in your house. I got inspired by Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 1, and I actually performed an operation on your eyeball and replaced it with a super advanced camera. And so I can see everything you do at all times.
And for that, I must apologize, Ian.
Yeah, it was a really bad idea. I did not think that one through at all.
Yeah, and whose fault is that, dude? I stare into the cosmic abyss, on a daily basis.
You're going to talk about just, constantly looking at your dick.
Oh, I do, dude, I do that all the time.
Or is your dick the cosmic abyss? Anyway, this has gotten really silly. I'm sorry, everyone. Oh, God. All the viewers are gone, guys.
What viewers? We didn't have any views to begin with. Let's continue with the conversation.
I don't know, in all fairness, I think this has actually been a really interesting conversation so far.
Oh, definitely.
So, I'm trying to think, a good way to get us back on track here.
I actually have some things to say about the devil. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's funny because the devil really, there's a fun saying in Russian, folklore. It's a short story. Essentially, this guy forgets to paint his eggs for Easter. And his neighbor comes over and says, why didn't you paint your eggs for Easter? And he's and the guy's the devil made me forget. And then the devil comes out of the stove and sits on it and says, what the fuck? I didn't do shit. It's you're the one who forgot to paint the eggs, not me, motherfucker. That's how Granny used to tell it to me. In those
exact words.
Yeah. But, yeah, the whole people like to blame the devil. Some people, just need somebody to throw all their bullshit onto. And that tends to, and I guess that's a defense mechanism, because if we do that with a fictional character, one would hope we won't do that with real people. Like, funny enough, I'm scheduling an interview with a person who's, I personally think is kind of a neo-Nazi. He thinks he's not, but yeah. And I've kind of noticed, like, with this whole Gamergate thing, people tend to dehumanize each other. And, like, I kind of look back on this whole situation as a, big, silly clusterfuck of shit-flinging. But essentially people on both sides that I listen to podcasts of who are running this thing, or at least guiding it, they tend to feel like, oh, why can't we just talk? Why can't we just talk? I'm not the devil. These are both the sides. Both sides are saying exactly the same thing. They want to communicate, but there's just so much dehumanization going on, and just like people completely discounting others' humanity and saying like, oh, this is not a real person. This is the devil. You're a misogynist. You're a feminazi. You're this. You're that. The actual genuine conversation is getting drowned out by the hate, and some would say that's planned, but I don't know. And essentially, that's why people need the devil. The devil is the scapegoat. The devil is somebody that you can just throw all your shit onto. It's him. He's the one who made me do it. And I guess
you know where the term scapegoat comes from?
Yeah, it's some sort of Middle Eastern ritual where the tribe would put all their sins upon the goat and send it out into the desert, and so it will die in the desert, thus clearing the collective soul of the tribe.
Well, not necessarily die in the desert. Goats are pretty good survivors. So it would live out in the desert and hold all their sins for the year. And they wouldn't eat or kill that goat. So I think that's a really interesting term.
Definitely.
And I think that kind of, like, it's weird how the modern connotation of that doesn't make any sense at all.
Funny enough, like, most modern, descriptions of things don't really make any sense to modern ears. Like, we're all so classical, and academia is so obsessed.
Yeah, I get where you're going. I'm tempted, but let's stay on the devil because we just got back.
Well, I know, but like before we do, like, academia is so obsessed with the classics that it's forgetting that we humans cannot, like, the classics are important. They should stay forever alive in the minds of the populace, whatever. But they forget that people need new stories, new classics, new versions of the same stories or similar stories, or new stories to help them understand the world around them now. Because we can't always go back to fucking Romeo and Juliet. We always can, but it gets to a certain point where, yes, we know the story. It's been repeated so many times, we get the point.
I think that's a different conversation, but the two cents on it really quick before we transition is it's impossible to get away from that. Like, literally, it's impossible because there's no such thing as the first story. Everything has always been intertextuality. It's always been...
Of course.
Yeah, I gotcha. I mean, like, dude, guys, I did a whole fucking video on this. It's like 15-minute long. Watch it. So
anyway, the funny thing
back to the devil.
To do with the devil. My favorite book is Master and Margarita. It's a classical Russian novel done in during the communist days. And essentially, it's the devil comes to Moscow with his minions and raises some motherfucking hell, son.
Does he challenge someone to, like, a what do you call that, river dancing match?
Essentially, the devil...
The devil went down to Moscow. He was looking for a soul to steal.
Essentially, the devil is portrayed as, like, an old...
The devil went down to Moscow, was looking for soul to steal.
He found nothing.
He left empty-handed.
Yeah.
Russians do not have souls.
Thanks, Ian. Thank you. That's really nice. But that's
is that racist?
Yes, it is. For everyone in America, like, Russian people don't have souls. You drink vodka since you're 12. I'm like, yeah, okay. Like, I had that shit said to me when I was 12. Like, I was a 8-year-old boy, and the teacher's like, you drink vodka every day, don't you, son? I'm like, no, I'm 12. Like, yes, you do. You're Russian.
I'm your friend.
Yeah, when you insult me, at least, like, you look me in the eye. Well, you talk to me directly when you shit in my face. and that I can appreciate about you. Thank you.
Well, like, here's the thing. If you ever, like, legitimately tried to insult me in a, like, laughing, playable way, and you've done it, and it's fun, I don't get mad about it.
Yeah.
You act like I'm the only one. You act like this is a one-way street. You just gotta learn to
I'm not mad at you, dude. That's why I like you. That's why. Anyway. But essentially, The Devil is it's a fantastic book. You know, it's also narrated by George Waddell. The audiobook, I mean. But anyway, essentially, it's a whole satire on...
George Waddell is the main character. It's all in first person.
No. Essentially, it's this whole wonderful satiric look at like how communism stifled creativity and censored everything, and it was bad, like the book, whatever. But essentially, The Devil doesn't really do much. He just kind of sits down and just watches his minions run amok, and his minions is essentially this skinny, bespectacled homeless guy and a giant cat that he just drinks a lot called Hippopotamus, whose name is Leviathan. Leviathan and the music conductor. I love those motherfuckers. They're delightful. But essentially, the whole story is he seduces this. Well, not seduces. The woman comes to him. He gets a witch on his side. Like,
Milan, can I ask you to skip the summation and just make the point?
Okay, the point is basically the devil isn't really he's not a bad guy. He's a bad guy, but the overall view of his workings in this world is a little bit more nuanced, and I like that. I like it.
Okay.
I like that. I like when the devil is not like the paper cutout red man with horns type of a thing.
Gotcha.
You know?
Gotcha. All right, so I've given my favorite version, which is from Bedazzled, and I know it's a comedy. I still love it. Like, the other thing he does in that is he just walks into the back of, like, where the airport luggage goes, and he just starts opening people's luggage and, like, throwing it around or changing people's, the contents of people's bags with other people's, and just stamps the wrong addresses on it and shit. It's amazing. Anyway, so I've given my favorite. Milan's given his favorite now. How about you, Steve? What's your favorite, like, portrayal of Satan?
It's hard to say. The angel version is far more metaphorical, obviously, so I'm not gonna just go with that. The Buffy version is also more metaphorical. So I really like the Ray Wise version on the TV show Reaper. It's not a particularly great show, but what makes it so interesting is that it takes all of the classical Christian ideas behind the devil about his vanity and about his presentation and about his attitudes towards things, and it all comes through Ray Wise. And it becomes hysterical in certain places. For example, one of the curses that God puts on the devil after he left heaven is that he can't have ice cream. It melts in his hand. So he just goes around like buying ice cream, and it just melts in his hand, and he looks so sad, and it's hilarious. And it's interesting because that version of the devil is the more classical sense. There isn't more depth to him than that. It really is in the fact that it's a performance on a stereotype of it, and that's kind of what makes it genius. In that, the kind of the point of the devil in that show is that what more could he possibly do to make the world worse than it already is?
Yeah, and that can kind of like that's the whole point of the devil, you know. Like the devil, the thing that kills the devil is postmodernism. I mean, if you think about.
Thank you, Heidegger.
No, I know that's not like I'm so like. I haven't slept for 48 hours, and I'm really, really high, and somehow I've attained this weird clarity for a brief moment.
Yeah, you've walked into the field. Yeah, you're totally in the Heideggerian, like, clearing, if you will.
Definitely. But
what's the word? It's a fucking German word. Lischwatch or something like that.
Nazi talk, whatever.
Yeah, he very much. Heidegger was a Nazi, everyone.
Yeah.
Unrepentant at all. So, keep that in mind.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, Aristotle was pro-slavery, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have good ideas.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's the thing. Like,
especially about slavery.
I was more along the lines of justice and virtue and such. But anyway.
Really?
Yeah.
The guy with pro-slavery thoughts had good ideas about justice and virtue. Something's not added up here. Anyway. No, alright, so Milan's interested in a very transcendent idea of the devil. I'm interested in a very comedic idea of the devil, and Steve's interested in, like, kind of a classical sense of the devil that's, like, playing on the modern idea. Or playing on modern social commentary.
But
yeah,
Steve,
because there's that great wide
I've
version,
got
which obviously the Mike Carey version.
one question. I think both of your guys, like, is it modern day depiction of the devil, or is it the American view of the devil?
Well, mine's British, so.
Oh.
I guess in a sense mine's American just because of the creators, but it's more of a universal thing anyway.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to. I don't think there's any way to say it's simply an Americanized version of that. It's a criticism of the common notion of it. So, and then the Mike Carey version's the same way, and that's more of a British take on it anyway.
I don't know. I think the reason I like mine so much is because, in a weird way, it kind of comes right out of the Bible. Because, you know, you have the snake, but that's not really any big deal because you can argue whether or not that even is the devil.
Yeah.
Even though most Christian versions say it is. But then there's the one scene that's definitely the devil in the Bible is the man that comes to Jesus in the desert and tempts him. That is like the one place where the devil seems to come from in Christianity, like directly. And
you know,
I think what's interesting about that is you take that scene where he tries to tempt Christ, and that's what he does for everybody. So when you have a hero go up against the devil, like what's his name? Johnny. Like Johnny, when you have a hero like Johnny in Devil Went Down in Georgia go up against the devil and win, it's kind of ultimately satisfying because Christ wins through passivity and Johnny beats the devil at his own game, and that's really awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of like you out-shystered the shyster.
Yeah,
that's why the Jewish people are so afraid of the devil. They're afraid they're going to find someone that can out-Jew them. Really racist joke.
I think it's interesting that we spent so much time talking about this, but we didn't talk about the whole Grant Morrison version of the devil.
Ooh.
I wasn't aware that he did anything with the devil in particular.
Dr. Hurt.
You're talking about like Dr. Hurt.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Dr. Hurt's definitely there, but at least as far as Grant Morrison goes with the devil in his fictional works, the devil, just like any other new god, is based solely on ideas. And so the devil exists because we make him exist. And it's an interesting process because Grant Morrison's philosophy of reading comics is if you want to be a better person, read comics. And so all of his works are based off that because it's an inception of ideas, and if the ideas in your mind are planted are the good ones, then there would be no devil in the world. It's a very idealistic, practical, pessimistic view, and it's a weird conundrum when you talk about it that way, but that's sort of how it fits.
And that's why I love Grant Morrison. I love it.
I can't remember the guy's name, but there's this quote, "The world is all the better for having a devil in it as long as we keep our foot upon his neck."
Yeah, essentially. I've heard that somewhere.
Milan, can you respond to what I typed down below, please?
It's interesting in that when Grant Morrison talks about Darkseid, or he uses the New Gods, or he did Final Crisis and such, the reason all that stuff happens is because the world at a point allowed it to happen. And the fact that our thoughts were so within it is what fueled its strength in the first place. And it in a lot of ways, Final Crisis is created as a commentary on pessimistic, nihilistic views in comics. Because we are more fascinated with the devil, we are going to have the devil ruin our comic universe.
Exactly. The whole everyone sprues such a fucking bitch fit for Final Crisis. It's like,
oh my God. It's confusing.
It's too dark. Anyone who thinks Final Crisis is bad should just get beaten by a man in a baseball.
Oh, that's right. The devil does show up at the end of Final Crisis once the universe has been destroyed. I forgot.
No, the last thing that shows up is a horrible cosmic vampire that wishes to suck the very last drops of creativity from this empty husk that Darkseid has wrought.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the devil. It's been like 3 years since I read Final Crisis.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's why I love comic books so much. I love Jewish people. They gave us comic books.
That and gangsters.
Jews gave us gangsters? I thought that was the Italians.
No, gangsters gave us comic books.
Oh,
They
yes,
did.
that's
They
right. Yeah, fucking
Which is like one of the greatest ironies of all time.
Because Superman and Batman used to fight nothing but gangsters. It's great.
Well, not only that, but like what's the word I want here? Money laundering through organized crime is what created the very first like major comic book company, which in turn inspired entire generations to think about a more noble world in which that's not okay, in which organized crime and crime in general is not okay and must be completely eradicated. It's interesting to me.
The world, I love the world and its ironies. It's so delightful.
It's just one of those funny things. Like, do you think that if you told that to one of the mob guys that was helping create DC in its early days, do you think they'd stop?
No, I think, like, mobsters are pretty, like, they don't give a shit. They're like, whatever, as long as I can fuck now and think about my consequences later, whatever.
Yeah, and that's probably why so many people are in that lifestyle.
Definitely.
Well,
yeah, but anyway,
he's a gangster at
of
least.
Of course. But that's the thing about the devil, which I find fascinating, in Final Crisis in general, is that it was this whole capstone on the darkness in comics, some would say. It was just like, this is Grant Morrison's final statement. Let's not, like, people let continuity cloud their view of a good story sometimes, and the thing is, he was trying, like, when you play around with narrative in comics, the old school geeky nerds, like, that are just trained to accept one style of comic book writing, go crazy. And basically what he did was he told a mythological story with modern mythological characters. That's how Grant Morrison views comic book characters as, well, what is Superman but a sun god? What is Batman but the spirit of vengeance? What is Wonder Woman? Like, they're just big symbols, and
what
you can do anything you want with them.
Then?
He's the wrath of, he's the wrath of God. He's just like,
Sorry.
In the latest issue of Batman Eternal, he calls himself Heaven's Blade. So that's pretty cool.
Really? The Spectre's in Batman Eternal?
He is, and the latest issue of it was so fucking bad, we quit reviewing it. So.
Really?
Yes, it was that bad. We ranted for nearly 2 hours about how bad it was, and only an hour and a half of that's recorded.
This is how Steve Baxi and the superhero enthusiast rant. Yeah, I didn't think it was very good. Yeah, it was like something smart. Kind of vaguely angry, but not raising our voices because we're
we
Canadians.
raised our voices a lot in that video.
Really?
We do.
So they're probably like up in this register as opposed to down in this register.
Yeah, you guys, like, if it weren't for us, like you guys are like...
the answer. That's the answer. The devil is Batman Eternal. Because nothing is more evil than making me read that book for 3 weeks.
Dude, everyone's in that book. Like, I keep seeing, like, the covers and the art. It looks just fucking beautiful. It looks like old school Batman.
It's the devil trying to trick you to read it, Milan.
That's exactly what it is, because the covers are great bait, and then you open it.
You know what's interesting, though?
It's like, I got your soul, bitch.
Exactly. Every
same thing.
Man.
But that's the weirdest thing, because every time I fucking look at the cover, like, flip through a Batman Eternal book, it's just like, what the fuck is this person doing? Like, just these random-ass characters just popping out of nowhere. I'm like, how does this have to do with the plot? And, like,
there is a lot of that.
I'm just
anyway,
what the? I guess they're just reintroducing random characters. Like, that's just, no.
Okay, anyway, back to the book. Back to the topic at hand, Satan. I'm wondering if we're gonna get fucking Beetlejuice. I'm wondering if we're gonna get a fucking Beetlejuice effect with this bullshit. We go to bed tonight. It's like Satan's gonna show up. It's like, hey.
I mean, it is Mischief Night, so.
Yeah. But all right. So what I want to talk about is like similar to my favorite version, though not comedic, is a song that I've had in my mind, and I looked for a cover of to try to put in the intro this week for this episode, and I couldn't find it anywhere. So we went with "Devil Went Down in Georgia," which is still fun and all that jazz. So I'm assuming you both know "Sympathy for the Devil," Rolling Stones. Yeah, I really fucking like that song. And I guess one of the things I find so fascinating about it is it's a song about Satan, sung from his perspective in a gospel style. And I don't know why, but that just fascinates me to no end. And I think the characterization is very much in line with what Steve is talking about, and what I was to a lesser extent, of just the modern day kind of like tempter and swindler that has nothing better to do than just screw people over.
Yeah, I mean, he's essentially a joker at this point.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I find that song does a really good job of portraying a lot of like the thoughts I have about when I think about Satan intellectually. I think that song says the majority of what I can say about it. It's just he's here in the background. And it'd be nice to think that he's the one making us do all these evil things, but how would you know?
I'm really glad you brought up that song, because you mentioned that it's sung in a gospel style, and earlier when we started this video, we talked about the fact that the devil doesn't have any kind of biblical companionary text that is just the devil's perspective. Mm-hmm. And that's certainly in line with that, and it almost feels like it's addressing that issue in some ways.
I think so, too. I mean, the Stones are essentially a British gospel band, in all honesty. Or at least when they started out, they were.
Yeah.
Once you get to, like, Paint It Black and Wild Horses, I don't know what happened. But just the way they do that, I'm not sure if it's just their style creeping in, or they're doing a commentary, or it just is a happy accident where both happen. I'm not sure. It's just something I find endlessly fascinating.
You know what I find, like, what I really like about any depiction of the devil? Very specific. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
The very specific depiction of the devil, which I like. It's mostly it's like I mentioned before. It's a really Russian view of the devil. Is that the devil really doesn't do anything. He doesn't really have a purpose, as it were. Like, people, like, what can he do? Like you mentioned before, what else can he do to make shit as worse as it is? I mean, it's just kind of very not laid back, but just kind of bored Satan. It's just like, okay, whatever. Like, not...
Don't guess my name.
But not this...
Sorry,
yeah, of course. And it's this idea of the bored devil that fascinates me. Because...
Sorry, I just had a really funny idea. Like, I almost want to go film a sketch where, like, Milan is talking to the devil. It's like, pleased to meet you, hope you guess my name. Is it Bobby? No, it's not Bobby. Is it Stan? I mean, close, but no. And just, like, for 5 minutes until the joke is completely dead, and then for 5 more minutes until the joke comes back around. Of just Milan being completely clueless. I think that would be hilarious. I'm sorry, Milan.
It's perfectly alright. But, like, I think I'd know my own dad. Thank you very much. I'm not a bastard. But
well, you are, but not that kind of bastard.
Oh, definitely. I know whom. Like, I'm not the traditional bastard. I'm just a moral kind.
No, but I'm sorry. Go on with what you were saying, man.
But yeah,
you like the devil that sits back and just lets it happen. So you like the Hades version of, like, the the master of the underworld.
Well, no. The thing is, it's not that I like or dislike. It's just a version of the devil that I find most fascinating. At least it's...
No, I get you.
It's the Russian devil. It's this devil...
I don't think it's independently Russian.
Oh,
I think
no. Of course, like, cultural appropriation, people tend to, appropriate different views on different things. But the thing is, Hades isn't really the devil. That's more like, Christians making paganism look bad. And,
no, I gotcha.
Yeah, but, like, fucking Hades is, like, he even fucking gave his wife that he kidnapped, like, a year off to spend with her mom. Like, that's a nice, like, either that's pussy whipped or he's really.
If you ignore the whole kidnap thing, I'm sure.
But he didn't
What a nice guy.
But he didn't
let you go.
Well, the thing is, he didn't kidnap her. He seduced her with kindness. That's the thing.
No bullshit. He came out of the ground with a chariot, with a chariot that was carried by black horses. He was probably like blasting metal music, and this poor girl's just la-di-da-di-da, skipping through a field, picking some flowers.
No.
And then the ground opens beneath her, and this chariot of black horses, and this like rah 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 rah.
No.
Just, like, comes out of nowhere.
And he's like in a leather jacket.
He picks her up and takes her away.
No. He doesn't pick her. Well, he picks her up, but she likes it. You know, he's all in a leather jacket. He's smoking a cigarette. He's all like pierced and shit. And he's like, "Hey, want to ride my big black horse?" And she's like, "Oh, okay." And like he takes her to the underworld. They fuck, and then it's just like, "Can I go now?" "Nope, you're my wife now." "God damn it!" And then the mom calls like, "Give me my fucking daughter back." It's like, "No, she's my wife now." "Okay, I'm gonna."
And apparently Demeter is from Brooklyn.
Yeah. And then the mother's like, "I'm gonna fucking kill everything on this planet if you don't give me my and she starts a winter. And that's how winter is formed. Essentially,
I love Milan's versions of stories. You should just start retelling Greek myths, but in your own style.
Yeah.
Like
so
Milan's book of Greek myths. That'd be amazing.
Yeah. I'm a great. Everyone I used to like all the kids in summer camp and in church would always say like crowd around me like tell us a story about a witch that eats kids or a monstrous cannibal or something. And I'm like,
I do not want to talk about my aunt right now.
No. And it's just like, it's so annoying. They just kept bothering me. And essentially, and like they said, like, Milan, you should be a priest or a teacher. I'm like, okay. A dude fucking called me a pedophile because kids liked me. Like
no, I have the same thing. It's annoying when kids like you and you're not.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like people that go up and like go, "Oh, hey, little baby," that's fine. It's whatever. You know, you want that kid to play with you or whatever. But when you just like you're doing your thing, and then a kid comes up, like looks at you, and is like, "I want to hang out with you." Why? I am not doing anything right now. Leave me alone, child.
Yeah, exactly. And they just find your dismissal of them adorable, and like, yeah, you're
exactly. It's like, God damn it, they're like fucking teenage girls.
Yeah. But anyway, before we get off this topic. Like, the same guy that's apparently been fucking stalking me and shit on Facebook and YouTube, like, he's the one who told me, like, when I was in summer camp so many years ago, like...
No, we've talked about this.
No, not online, but, basically, he basically came up to me. He's this Metro guy, good-looking guy, and, like, he's weird now, but essentially he came up to me a few years back, like during summer camp, and like, because all these kids, like little girls and little boys, were always like, tell us a story, Milan. I'm like, leave me the fuck alone. Camp counselors, do your jobs. They keep following me. And like this guy, like, oh, dude, you're a fucking pedophile. I'm not a fucking pedophile. And he's like, it's okay. By the time you're 20, these girls will be like 18. I nearly beat the shit out of that guy. You calling me a pedophile, you motherfucker? I'm like, oh.
Okay, anyway, dude, this is so far removed.
I know, but
Steve, guess what?
Yes.
Steve, guess what? You get the monumental task of getting us back on topic.
Hooray! I love this job. Not really. About the devil, I think it's interesting that when you're talking about the devil, there are some distinct features to him. Like, we talked about the suit, we talked about the horns and such, and there's even classical versions where he's kind of shaped in a dragon. But I've read a really interesting article when I was preparing for this discussion that was talking about the fact that the devil's voice has to boom. And it's interesting because I don't know, do you guys imagine the devil as being able to talk to you on your own level? Or is he someone that's got gravitas in his speech also? Because that makes quite a bit of difference in how you perceive him. And especially if we're going with like the modern version where he's the swindler with the suit and the fancy ties and such. Is he a guy with an overwhelming personality, or is he a guy that he seems too fragile until you start speaking to him?
I'm not sure.
Well,
that's a good question.
Still, those are the two halves you can go to. I mean, like, you can have the big, booming, black metal devil, like, just horrible horned beast of the underworld. But you can also have the kind of, like, the smooth talking. But you can't really have them both at once. Or at least not on screen together. Because Like
Unless you go like some fucking Robin Williams plays the genie shit.
Yeah, exactly. Or basically, there's this one movie called it's with Brandon Fraser. It's a remake. Yeah, it's essentially the devil's a hot chick, and essentially
that's Bedazzled.
Exactly. But the thing is,
the American version of Bedazzled.
Yeah, it's the hot chick Satan. But essentially, she does show up as a hot chick, but she just when she gets pissed, she transforms into this huge, scary CGI devil, quote unquote scary.
No, she transforms into a gigantic hot chick in a bikini with like flames behind her.
Oh, does he now? Oh, okay, it doesn't matter.
It's just like they just green screen a bigger version of her behind a tiny version of Brendan Fraser. It's like that movie's that's not the highlight of that movie. The highlight of that movie is when she passes a hospital in her like crazy engine sports car and drifts around a corner while honking her horn because there's a sign that says "Quiet, please" next to them. And it's a shame the highlight of the movie comes about 10 minutes into the movie. God, Bedazzled. Ugh. I like the idea of making the devil a woman because, I mean, you can tell that was written by a man who had recently been divorced. There's so much potential there, but at the same time, it's just like, it's so much fun.
Have you guys heard that song, When You're Evil?
Love that song.
Love that
yeah, because there's that great line in the opening where to the Mrs. I'm Surprised, and what's the other one? The Mrs. I'm Surprised, and to the man I'm Misfortune, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that song.
Yeah.
When you're evil.
Lying through my teeth. I'm lying through my teeth. Your tears are all the payment I'll ever need, or something like that.
Yeah, that's a good song.
Yeah, it is.
Funny enough, I'm drawing and illustrating a comic book now, and essentially, like, should I tell this on the air or shouldn't I?
Well, it depends if you plan to ever finish it.
Well, I will.
Sting.
Yeah, you're right. I'll tell you. Oh, shut up. I'll tell you about it later. Maybe off camera. Essentially,
Does that one hurt? Does that one hurt at all?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah,
that
please.
felt a little close to this. That felt a little close to the heart.
We
I'm
need
sorry.
rim shot effects, man.
Like I so would do it if I like had the time to go through episodes and do it.
No, I mean like the Pamela Recorder sound effects stuff.
Oh, does that come in here now?
Wasn't it always there?
I don't know. I never played with this shit. Drum beat, drum, heartbeat, kiss, laughter. I can put a laugh track in.
You can
Let's see how this sounds.
You just click a button and it will record with you. It's great.
Okay, that seems like it'd get really fucking annoying really quickly, though.
Yeah, but I guess, like, if you want to feel what it's like to laugh at me with a group of people, then, yeah.
You know how much fun it would be to have my own live studio audience just follow me around and laugh at everything I say, even if it's not really that funny?
That sounds like a really bad episode of Billy and Mandy.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, I was at the station the other day, and I don't even remember what the fuck I said, but I made a joke, and I was the only one that found it funny, but I maintain that it was a good joke.
Did it have dead babies in it?
No.
Nah.
Yeah, anyway. Alright, so is there anything else we wanted to talk about with Satan? Because we are kind of getting long here, and we keep going off topic, which is usually a good sign that we're just about out.
Yeah, agreed.
Does anyone have a golden fiddle they'd like to try to sell? Because
my room is literally filled with those fucking things. It just gives them away.
Satan is not as good a fiddle player as he thinks he is.
Not at all. I mean, like, those things are heavy. It's only thanks to my gargantuan Russian strength am I able to always beat him. You know, and it's just like I'm the only Russian in existence that can't play chess, but I can play a fiddle like nobody's business.
That's a really weird. Milan and I need to do a video where I teach Milan to play chess.
That would
totally.
be fun.
You gotta teach me. Like, it's shame. It's a cultural shame. It's like you can't play chess,
Like, that's why your father and stepfather like don't treat you like a man. Is because you don't know how to play chess.
No.
You're like, well, teach me, and they're like, no, you should have known when you came out. Anyway. All right. So I think that's about it. So Milan doesn't think he'll be able to join us tomorrow night. We will be doing an extra episode this our regular episode. This is your extra episode, so do keep an eye out for another one. All right, we're gonna do a review. Give me a second. I'm gonna walk over to the DVD shelf and just pick something random.
Randomness. Maybe an animated film of some kind.
Maybe Studio Ghibli? I don't know, maybe Princess Mononoke?
That one would take a while.
Well,
Because it's a very deep movie.
Of course, but maybe we should, since I hate that Halloween is getting, Christmas is encroaching on the days of Halloween. Fuck it, let's do something scary as well. Like, Billy and Mandy you mentioned.
I like Billy and Mandy.
Yeah. You read the Bleed Man comics?
I have not. I should, though.
Yeah, it's essentially it's Spawn and Billy and Mandy. It's just all of your nostalgia wrapped up in one pervy anime package.
Maybe we could do the Crow.
You want to do something horror-y, though? Like
The what?
Like legit horror, though?
Yeah.
What about The Shining?
Ooh, I really want to be on that one. Goddamn.
I'm not sure if I'll have access to it by tomorrow.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's true. We need... let's not do a review just because, we'd have to watch it. And I didn't think about that.
Huh?
Can
you get...
Okay.
All right, let's go ahead.
I'm doing yours, yeah, too. I need typers. I only got like...
Should we go ahead and give the devil a score? Or no?
Well, we don't do scores on idea topics, but if you'd like to rate the devil, I'm sure he'd appreciate it.
I mean, the devil's always making his content. No one ever, rates or subscribes to him. It's sad.
That is pretty sad. The devil has, the most underrated YouTube
I know.
He uploads all this fascinating content, how to skewer bodies and such. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know.
Where else are you going to find that
Exactly.
Who else is going to teach you the ways of black magic?
Excuse me.
The proper way to draw a pentagram and salt.
Ahem.
Milan, you should totally... Oh my god, I can't believe I'm asking you to do this, but you should totally make a video where you, legit, properly edited and everything, make it look, super polished YouTube tutorial about how to sacrifice a goat to Satan.
Funny you should say that.
No one else could ever get away with it but you. Oh my god, that's such a terrible idea. Now first you're going to want to get your Morton salt, and you're going to want to pour it in the circle first, and then draw a pentagram in the salt in that circle. Now, some people cheap out and use chalk, but you really want to use the salt to get the full effect. Or the blood of a virgin, but that's this whole thing. This is just a lot simpler, and it is really nice polished way to do stuff.
Of course. And it's so hard to find an attractive virgin in today's world,
What is up with that? Why do you have to take the blood of a... Why is it always got to be a hot female virgin? Why can't you just go get some 12-year-old nerd in the comic book store?
Because the devil has taste, dude.
That's why the devil doesn't show up at these sacrifices anymore. Too many people are just sacrificing 12-year-old kids that just are pimple-faced nerds. He's like, son of a bitch. Okay, anyway. Milan, do you want to give the... Steve. No, I'm sorry. Steve, do you really want to give the devil a rating?
Okay, if we want to give the devil a rating, we totally could.
Okay, I give the devil, 500,000 useless golden fiddles out of 500,000 useless golden fiddles.
I give the devil 3 out of 5 reasonably malevolent plans.
Okay, mute please.
I give the devil 4.5 out of 5 terrified, extremely hot virgins.
Okay. Where's the other half
the
of
devil
the
is
other one?
the devil is quite thankful for that. Thank you, Steve.
The other half is kind of sacrificed because there was that time he did that thing to me and I still haven't forgiven him. So, damn it, my ex-girlfriend.
Oh, God. Anyway. Alright, everyone. Thank you for listening. Alright, so we need a new topic. I was throwing around one today, or we could do the one I suggested at the beginning of the video. I'll let you guys choose. So I have an idea for, this paper that I'm going to write, and I figure I might use Geeky Gentleman to help me think of how I'm going to write this paper. So either art versus history, or how we got our YouTube start. I'll let you guys choose.
I like the art versus history.
Yeah, but didn't we cover a similar topic somewhere down the line in the past?
I mean, we did historical fiction, but I think that's a different thing entirely.
But can we really stretch out a whole episode on how we got our YouTube starts?
Yes, I'm thinking art versus history then.
Agreed.
Okay, that'll be fun. And you guys are going to help me write my paper. I might seriously just break out my paper during that episode.
Ian, I gotta ask you, dude, the papers that you mentioned having to do with comic books I just find fucking fascinating. Why don't you just do readings of them? I would watch them.
Because I cannot fucking read. I cannot read and talk at the same time to save my life. I cannot read aloud for shit. It sounds awful. Every time you can tell, it's so dry and awful. Like Cap does his superhero rewinds and he's reading aloud the whole time. I cannot read and talk for shit. It sounds terrible every time. I have to talk off the cuff, otherwise it doesn't work. And I can't talk off the cuff the way I write, even though the way I write is meant to sound like natural speech.
Well, then why don't...
Because it's that well crafted.
Well, why don't you just, I don't know, have Steve do it?
Steve, do you want to read my papers for me?
No, thank you. I can barely read my own papers.
That sucks.
Yeah,
because... Okay, how about this? How about you just make videos having to do, using your paper as, a spine, and essentially just say what's in the paper, but in your own words?
Well, it is in my own words, because it's my paper.
Then read the fucking...
No, I can't consult notes or stuff like that. It's this whole thing. I can't... It psychs myself out in my head, and I can't...
Almost like when you're doing an off-the-cuff presentation, and the notes make it shorter than it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like when I can only talk intelligently off the cuff, or I can only be intelligent when I'm writing it down. I can't do both. I can't read what I've written and make it sound good. It either has to come straight out of my head because I fucking read Heidegger, or I have to sit, write it down, and then let someone read it. I can't do both. It's a bitch. Anyway, that being said, now that everyone has a very intimate knowledge of how my brain works, you're welcome, I guess. Thank you, Milan. Everyone, thank you for listening, though. We'll be discussing art versus history, and that'll be posted on Sunday. Have a happy Halloween. If you listen to this on Halloween, it should be an open enough topic that you could listen to it anyway. I could clearly see this being its own topic without the special Halloween outro, just saying. So everyone, seriously though, thank you for listening. Until next time, I'm the philosopher.
I'm the politician.
And I am the madman.
And we are your geeky gentlemen, and we will be discussing things. Satan, come out now.